Hello, and welcome to our app, TinyTurtle's Composting. I'm Gabriel,
And I'm Brian.
And I'm Stephanie.
and we're excited to present you our app today.
And it's important to mention that we originally started this app because we started a composting initiative in our school and saw the need to educate students about how to properly compost and sort their waste. And to get more into the audience, Stephanie will talk more about that.
As Brian was saying, we started a composting initiative coordinated to the students of our school. For that composting initiative, we have a composting box that is accessible to all the students. But one issue that we saw is that most students don't know what is and isn't compost. But not only our school, we want to branch out further so that composting is more
Our app is programmed with a combination of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, with the majority of the functionality taking place in the JavaScript. Here we have our title page, which showcases our logo, our name, and a call to action for players to begin compost. Upon clicking this button, we are taken to the main UI, where we see that there are various materials that players can compost. These yellowish materials are browns, the greenish ones are greens, these are worms, which accelerate composting, and these are plastic bags, which are not compostable. Additionally, we have two sliders to adjust moisture and temperature/light, as well as a button to advance time and clear the bin. To begin, players may drop compost such as broccoli and apples into the bin. Then they may advance time to see how efficient their composting is. Here we see that they get feedback saying that they have too many green materials and should supplement that by adding browns into the mix. This teaches students that to have a good, effective composting bin, they need to have a good balance of browns and greens. Once I've added this brown and advanced time, the feedback says that we have a better balance of materials and environmental conditions, and that decomposition is actively underway. To expedite the process, we may add a worm, which serves as a decomposer and helps further compost these materials that we put into the bin. Once we advance time, we see that recommendations say that we've added worms that accelerate decomposition by about 50%. If a student were to add a plastic bag, however, they get a warning saying that it is a non-compostable item, and that if they were to advance time, they should remove it immediately, which they can do so at the click of a button. The primary gameplay loop is adjusting the moisture and temperature, as well as adding browns and greens when necessary, to ensure that students have a successful and efficient composting bin. Here, it says I have too many green materials, and so I should remove one of them and see what the app says. Now that it looks like I have a solid structure for composting, I will continue advancing time until everything is eventually composted. We may add another worm here. And once students finish composting, they get a congratulations, as well as a time of completion, the materials they composted, as well as their final moisture and temperature, and the option to start a new compost bin with the newfound knowledge they. As I mentioned previously, this app is primarily coded in JavaScript. How that is seen is where the JavaScript interacts deeply with the HTML to create the borders whenever I hover over these composable materials, as well as creating the pop-ups whenever I advance time or whenever I clear the bin. The CSS serves primarily to create the colorful gradients and UI seen all across the main screen. Overall, developing this app gave us a deeper knowledge of how to program with web development, but also how to make composting more accessible, particularly through the advice we get, such as low temperature, insufficient balance of greens and browns, non-degradable materials, and others. Overall, we hope that these features will help make our app the most functional and most accessible possible for our peers to understand the most effective ways to compost so that we may create a more sustainable world.